This is a video I've put off for a long time, over 6 months, because it involves one of my most favorite hotels that I've stayed for sure at least a month of my life in. So I've been torn about this. But it's also the only hotel I've ever been to where they actually confiscated my personal handgun. It's one of the nicer hotel casinos on the Strip. Lindsay loves Italy, so I've taken her to the Venetian a number of times. We've rented the gondola. We rented one of the high roller penthouses for our 7th anniversary. We did a fun little vow renewal at the Little White Wedding Chapel, got remarried by Elvis, invited a bunch of our friends. We called it like lucky number 7, right? And because I'm an absolute degenerate, this was the first casino I brought my niece, Caroline, to last summer when she was old enough to go. I spent my last birthday at the Venetian with a bunch of my buddies from New Orleans. We had a great time playing Pai Gow until 4 a.m. You guys know it, I go to SHOT Show every year, love SHOT Show, love Las Vegas. I don't get tired of it. I look forward to staying at the Venetian every single year. I've got a Louisiana concealed handgun permit, which is recognized in over 40 states, including Nevada. If I'm traveling, if I'm checking a bag, if I'm going to a state that recognizes my permit, I bring my handgun. Same goes with Rye Guy, my cameraman. We land at McCarran or Reed, or whatever the airport's called now in Vegas. We usually strap up and then head to the hotel, but we got there late this year. I was ready to get to the Venetian and hit the tables, start drinking beers. So when Ryan asked me if we're gonna crack open the gun case that's locked, get our guns out, load them up, holster them up while we're sitting there in front of the airport, I say, dude, forget about it, I'm anxious. I want to get over to the Venetian, let's go. So we get to the hotel, drop off our bags with the bellman, check in as usual. It's SHOT Show. That means everyone's there for the same thing, and they're there for the literal biggest gun show in the literal world. So you know at that moment, if there's 1,000 people on the casino floor, 950 of them are carrying guns. The very, very important point here is that there's nothing stopping me from walking in, carrying my gun on my waist, as I've done for probably 10 years in the past, nor is there anything stopping anyone else from doing it. So imagine my surprise when I get a phone call from the front desk after I get into my room saying that they searched my bags and they found 2 Glock 43Xs. I was surprised because, first of all, they searched my bags. Second, they told me I couldn't have the gun in my room and that I'd have to pick it up from a gun check if I wanted it back, at which point I would be escorted out of the hotel, not to return until I come back and drop my gun off again with security. So the 4 or 5 other dudes from TFB in the room with me, they're of course carrying their guns and they're staying in the hotel, and they all had a laugh at my misfortune. So I felt like my privacy had been violated, but I wasn't stressing about it too much. I realized a lot of people watching this video are probably irate already that a hotel would search your bags for guns and then take them, and you're probably mad at me for not being more angry about it. I'm a big picture guy. There was the shooting in Las Vegas. I figured the Venetian has this like feel-good security policy so they can tell the more pusillanimous of their guests that they can't bring guns to the hotel, and they can maintain this little charade and everybody thinks they're safe. They told me to come down to the bell desk to get the guns, to check them in the armory. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, gonna be a quick process. I'm gonna go down there, talk to a security guard. They're gonna take me to like some awesome armory, like a vault, Ocean's 11 meets John Wick or something. And boy, was I way off. I'm staying in the Venezia Tower, so I go down. The bellhop is right there, right when I get off the elevator. So I go over there, and they wheel out my bag by itself, like alone. It's a gym bag, and it's got a box that's got a lock on it and a gun in it, and they're wheeling it out like it's a goddamn Broken Arrow nuclear weapon when it's just an unloaded and checked Glock 43X in a box about the size of a Bible in a gym bag with all my clothes. At that point, they tell me they're going to have to call security, who's going to have to escort me to the security desk to check the gun in. I have to stand in the lobby, wait a few minutes for security to arrive. Then this big dude, I think his name was Danzel or something, comes down. Super nice guy. I could tell he was just as excited to deal with this shit as I was. And again, bear in mind, I'm pretty anxious at this point because I had just gotten to Las Vegas. It's already later in the evening. I hadn't eaten dinner. I wanted to crush a few beers. I wanted to lose a few $100 on the tables. Plus, my boys, Hop and Ryan and Luke, they're all there with me wanting to do the same thing, which makes it 10 times worse than if I was just sitting there killing time by myself. But the good news is that those guys have cell phones, and so do I, and that's really important for this video. Danzel walks me over to the security desk, but in the process of walking me over to the desk, he gets a call on his radio saying that they actually have to take me to this underground security layer. So we turned back around, and I think at that point I figured I would just deal with it tomorrow because I could already tell that Danzel's supervisors had no idea what was happening or how to deal with the situation. So I figured it'd be better to just deal with it tomorrow. So I say, Danzel, hypothetically, what would you do with that bag if I just got up and ran out of the Venetian hotel right now? He made a comment to the effect of, I probably wouldn't let you back into the hotel. So I say, okay, hypothetically, I have a heart attack right here, right now. What would you do with that bag? Because that's what I want you to do with it right now. I don't want to mess with this right this moment. I can't remember exactly what he said, which is unfortunate because it was way funnier, like we all laughed, than what I remembered, but I think he said something like, hey man, we ain't doing more effing hypotheticals. So we go to this underground security office. It's kind of like the things you see in the movie Casino or Goodfellas or something. A bunch of guys just staring at security cameras. Danzel goes in there, talks to some people. I'm talking to the boys. And then we get escorted to another subterranean security office. It's at this office that we're picked up by an entourage. We have practically an entire security detail following us like we're about to pull off a heist. I feel like Hannibal Lecter being moved from my cell to the airport tarmac or whatever. I mean, there's literally a security guard 6 o'clock behind me. The whole thing was so ridiculous and I felt like a criminal. I think after about an hour, we finally reached, depending on how you count it, our third, fourth, or fifth destination of the evening. This was probably a quarter to a half mile of walking that we've done. If you've been to SHOT Show, you know it's a bit of a hitch to go from the front desk at the Venetian all the way through the Venetian, through the casino floor, through Restaurant Row, into the Sands Convention Center, then into the basement of the Sands Convention Center, which is where this room was. The penultimate room we visited, yes, penultimate, not ultimate, the one right before that. Little did we know, but we still had one more stop to go. That's where the room is. So we meet Don Corleone of the Sands Convention Center security and his entourage, and after that, we finally go to yet another room where I'm given this claim check that I'm supposed to keep track of on top of all my other stuff and covering SHOT Show for the entire week if I ever want to see my pistol again. I'm told if I want to pick up my gun to legally exercise my right to carry it, for which I've been permitted for almost 20 years, for which permit I'm certified to provide instruction in 2 states, I'm more or less going to have to repeat this exact process every single time and then be escorted off the property.
So here's the security desk where I'm supposed to check in to get my stuff back. Nobody here. Just need, like, I've got my guns in the armory and they told me to check in with security and nobody's there. There's nobody there.
I'm expected when I return to the property to follow the same procedure to check it in. Considering I wasted probably over an hour from start to finish just to check the gun in, this is functionally a deprivation of my gun. It was so tedious to check the gun in that there's absolutely no way I was going to ruin the rest of my trip pissing away somewhere between like 1 and 2 hours just to check a gun. It's absurd. What makes it even more absurd, go all the way back to the beginning, but if I had just worn it like every other person attending the show, like I've done for a decade in the past, it would have never been an issue. It never has been. So there are thousands of guys walking around with their Glocks while me, dumb idiot, they take it from me, all because I just didn't wear it in. Whew, boy, we're not even to the best part yet. So, after being escorted with a security guard detail worthy of clear and present danger, once we dropped the gun off, I guess security guard Fred Flintstone slid down the brontosaurus back and pulled the toucan's tail because there was not a single security guard to be found. We were just turned loose after we checked the gun in on the SHOT Show floor. Had we been less scrupulous journalists or people, at a minimum, we could have walked around the SHOT Show floor and at least gotten a scoop on the new products that were going to be revealed over the next couple of days.
James, you've just successfully infiltrated the SHOT Show floor a day before it's opened. What are you going to do now?
I know, well, I wish I knew what to do.
I have to confess, I think Luke and Hop maybe took advantage of some mannequins, and I gotta tell you, if it's a crime to grope a mannequin butt cheek in Las Vegas, then you can just call me the Fremont Street Fondler. So fast forward to a week later at the end of the trip. As I said, I didn't even make a single attempt to pick up my gun because I didn't want to deal with the waste of time or with the incompetence again. I would have rather just been stabbed by a hobo in front of the Walgreens by the Casino Royale. I wake up a little bit hungover and find to my relief, my flight's been pushed back an hour. So Ryan and I kind of leisurely pack, build in a little bit of time to make sure to go back and pick up the guns. We're just kind of hanging out, shooting the shit, when all of a sudden I get a notification that, just kidding, Southwest is departing at its original time. So it's been brought back an hour, a solid hour and a half to make it to the airport, 15 minutes away, but I'm worried about how long it's going to take to get our guns back. So I call down to security. I get passed around to several people in the process of asking about how to get my gun back because nobody knows anything. So I finally speak to a supervisor and we more or less get in a shouting match because I'm telling her that I'm going to miss my flight if I have to repeat the same process from the other day. This woman tells me, no issue, no problem. I'm going to be able to get my gun back in 10 minutes or less. But if I don't pick it up, she threatens to turn my guns over to the Las Vegas Police Department. I go down there, no shock. It takes damn near a half hour to go to the security desk, get somebody to escort me to the vault area where security guard DJ Paulie D is waiting for me. I point out to him which gun box is mine, and bear in mind, it's got a ticket on it that's got my full name, address, phone number on it. I give him 2 forms of photo ID. Both have my address on them, and I've got the keys to the box. He wants a business card.
Got my address on it, I got the key. You want me to...
No, you got ID, so we can just
Yeah.
confirm it. Same name, right?
Same name, same address.
And do you have any kind of business card?
No.
No. Okay. Just 1 second.
A business card. I could go to the office center in the casino and print out a business card. I have to present fewer credentials to get through customs in a foreign country than I do to have to get my own property back with my name on it from this guy.
Sign in.
I mean, is there any dispute that I got the key to it? That's got my address on it. It's got my name on it. My name's right there.
Someone's trying to pick up something from the vault. He doesn't have his other ticket, but he has his ID that matches. And it has his name, his address, his information, everything. He just doesn't have the other half of the ticket.
Thank you.
He eventually gives me my stuff back. We walk all the way back through the Sands Convention Center, all the way through the Venetian, all the way to the Venetian garage on the other end of the hotel. We get in an Uber, haul ass to the airport. We make it in time to catch our flights. But we miss the window to check our bags by 5 minutes. So at that point, we were stuck. I was supposed to get home to New Orleans early in the afternoon on a direct flight. I've mentioned this before. My stepfather passed away on Christmas Eve 2021. It's been really hard on the family. This was 3 weeks before SHOT Show. I didn't know it, but my mom had actually driven a few hours over to New Orleans to meet my wife. They were going to pick me up at the airport together as a surprise, which I found out once I called my wife and told her I wasn't going to be getting home until 10 o'clock that night because Southwest had to put me on a later flight with a long connection. So that's my story. Am I happy about it? Absolutely not. But as an American, I do respect property rights. If the Venetian wants to treat their guests that come in town for the largest gun show in America this way, that's up to them. But then again, guests also have the ability to choose a different hotel. And it isn't even about the fact that they have this asinine policy. It's that in I don't know how many years of going to SHOT Show, I've never heard of it. And that they searched my bags, and that they took my stuff, and that they made it so incredibly painful to get my stuff that they basically deprived me of my right to protect myself. Worst of all is how irrational this policy is when any butthole off the street who doesn't hand his bags to the bellhop can just walk in wearing a gun, and that's fine. In other words, they're not stopping whatever they think they're stopping by having this policy, but they're inconveniencing a lot of their guests. So the main takeaway is if you're staying at the Venetian and you plan on bringing a gun, don't give it to the bellhop. Venetian, if you guys ever watch this video, again, your property. I'm not some bozo who's going to sit here and start raving about my Second Amendment rights because, it's your house, it's your rules. But I suggest that if you do have rules like this, if you're going to enforce them, number one, don't. But if you do, tell your guests in advance, and barring that, at least make it convenient for them. Imagine if I was 78 years old and I went through this entire procedure and got hammer toe from having to walk a mile round trip to check my gun in and check it out. Dudes out there watching, what do you guys think about this? Let me know in the comments. Hopefully Venetian will read them and they'll see your comments. Am I off base? I mean, it is their property, their rules, but it also is kind of silly to have those rules when it's so easy to get around them and so hard to comply with them. This isn't meant to be an attack I'm not doing this as a ploy to rack up a bunch of views. This is me reaching out to one of my most favorite hotels in the world and asking them to rethink this policy. And if it takes pressure from me, from my viewers to do that, great. Venetian, if you're watching, please get this figured out before January 2023. If not, guess I'll be checking out that new Hard Rock hotel that they're building across the street. Guys, thanks for watching. I hope to see you all at SHOT Show this year, whether or not I stay at the Venetian. If you see me in Vegas, stop me, say, hey, I got a patch for you, maybe buy you a beer, maybe play a hand of pie gal with you. Take care.
I can get it by the kilo. Something, 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 something.